Welcome to the Awesome Early Bird Podcast. It's your old pal Emac coming to you with one Joey Corman there. I had a little hesitation because I didn't see the counter moving. It's recording. Thankfully, we're not broadcasting live with the Early Bird Podcast here, brought to you by SuperDraft, the presenting sponsor. We will talk about them in a bit. Joey, how are you doing? You know, after my podcast last weekend with Rinpack, he went on to win $100,000 later that week. Did you win $100,000 last week after our podcast?
I didn't.
It's okay. I didn't either. I won hundreds of dollars, but not 100,000.
So I'll give a little Rinpack story here. I was talking to Rinpack as he won that 100,000. So I was texting with him, just not even about DraftKings, just because, you know, he works with me, right? So I was texting him, and I don't even know what we were talking about, and I wasn't even in the contest, actually. And someone sent me a message, on Twitter, and they said one of the Awesome members is just banked $100,000. I'm like, oh. So I look, and it's Rinpack. I'm like, dude, you just won $100,000. What? Are you not going to say anything? Like, what? He's like, yeah, that just happened. I'm like, are you serious right now? I'm like, oh my God, dude. He's like, I'm going to bed. Like, what? You need to go to bed.
And yeah, like, I think that's the second time he's done that. He had a big one in the NBA Finals, and then I think he had one for a showdown football slate as well.
Okay.
So yeah, he's pretty sneaky there.
He told me it was his first six figure. I think he's won like $60,000 before. He said.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the 100,000 might have been his first, but he's had a few very notable, like approaching $100,000 in profit nights.
Right.
Very cool. Shout out to him.
Yeah, well, hopefully after this podcast we can make it happen again. 2 weeks in a row. What do you think?
There we are. We'll find out. We'll find out. Yeah. But
I don't like my chances. But
we're heading into the All-Star break here. So we have 5 games for Tuesday. Let me get over to the schedule. I believe it's a relatively healthy schedule on Wednesday. On Thursday, there are 2 8:00 games, and then Friday is, of course, the Rising Stars Challenge, the World versus the USA. We know that there will be DFS contests for that. Wednesday is 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 games on Wednesday, so that's kind of the last hurrah. Saturday's the dunk contest. Sunday is Team LeBron versus Team Giannis, and then NBA is dark until Thursday. And then the light shines down upon the DFS world once again, and they have 6 games coming in on Thursday. So that's kind of nice. They've changed it up a tiny bit. They used to just come back. They used to exit and come back with 2 games. It's like, nah, that's not quite as fun. And the sites would make ungodly prize pools, and then on that Friday, their prize pools wouldn't be as big, even though there were more contests. So thankfully, there's a lot of teams playing now with 12 coming in, so that'll be helpful. In the meantime, just a reminder to everybody, we do have NASCAR. The Daytona 500 is this weekend. We had the Clash last weekend. I think there's a couple what they call the duels. So basically, this is kind of 2 weeks at Daytona where they've got all the cars there and they're testing and doing all their usual stuff, but they've got some sort of little all-star contest. I can't remember if that happens on Thursday or Friday night, but then you get Daytona this weekend. You've got NHL in full swing. We, of course, have projections for that, and that is a lot of fun. So those of you that are playing basketball, you may want to come on over. We do have daily shows there with Jake Hari. You may see me on one of the shows, giving you a nice little explanation on newbies coming into NHL. I have been playing... I have not missed a slate since the start of the NHL playoffs last year, and I played about half of the season, meaning I didn't play every single day, but I played I think 100 out of the 170 whatever days there were in the regular season last year. So I've gotten really into NHL. Best part though, I just use our tools, read our content, and make my lineups with Fantasy Cruncher. It's like I'm a player, so I thoroughly enjoy that. Doing the sports where I'm not the one providing content. It's a lot of fun, Joey.
Yeah, Cal Ripken Emac, the Iron Man.
We will see. Well, it's all about those that know it's all about the apples and the genos, but I like getting those little DK crowns and milestones and bonus points. Mm-hmm. So if you play steady, you can hit those, because it's always fun making the black tier or the diamond tier, because then they give you money every day.
We're going to have a deal coming out on the 12th So stay tuned for that. It's going to be a little incentive to purchase a all access pass that will include NHL, NASCAR, all the stuff you're going to be able to play while NBA is on break. So
That
watch out for that
sounds
one. Yeah.
that sounds like a good one. All right,
Yeah.
let's get into our games here. We're going to go game by game, everybody, since there are just 5 on the slate. It'll allow us to just kind of be a little bit more organized, see if we can catch the particular injuries and such. Looks like it's relatively, I want to say, straightforward. Nothing's ever straightforward. It's the NBA, but we do have over-unders and game totals for 4 of the 5 games, so that is nice. We're going to start off here with the Clippers at Philadelphia. We have the Clippers favored on the road by 1. There's a 225 over under here. Kawhi Leonard had the last game off back to back. He hasn't played a back to back in 3 years, so no surprise there. Alec Burks should be joining the team and being available after being traded from Golden State. And Joel Embiid, variety of injuries that he has had, but he did play 31 minutes in the last game, and he will be in on this one. He was dealing with a sore neck. What does the tag say now? He has a sore left hand. I wonder if that's remnant banged his dislocated hand that he had, or finger that he had to have surgery on. But I'm turning this one over to you, Joey. What do you like here? Start us off with the Clippers at full strength. The same team at full strength that got their ass kicked by Minnesota.
Yeah. So you know how the deal is here. We've never had a podcast where the Clippers have both had Kawhi and Paul George. That was like about 6 straight weeks.
Oh, that's right. You had brought that up before.
That was the streak. So I'm fully expecting Kawhi or Paul George to just impromptu sit out. So let's just put that on the back burner right there. But let's assume on the off chance that Kawhi and Paul George do both play. I do like Montrezl Harrell on this spot. He's my favorite. I'm 5,700 on DraftKings. He's got I don't expect his minutes to fluctuate. Even with Paul George and Kawhi, his production really isn't affected there, but he's got a 39% 6 times rate at that price, 5,700. He's also really cheap on FanDuel. He's 5,600. So I really like Montrezl Harrell there. Marcus Morris is going to take a hit. He was having a really good season in New York, probably because no one else is good on New York, except for Julius Randle. So he was having a good season, but he's going to take a big hit with, Kawhi and Paul George occupying his spot there. So on the Philly side, it gets a little more crowded with the potential arrival of Glenn Robinson and Alec Burks. Furkan Korkmaz has been red hot, on fire. He tore apart my balls, but he's just not reliable with especially Burks, Robinson, Richardson. It's really, really crowded there. I would say of my Tobias Harris also. Tobias Harris could be sneaky. I like that 38% 6 times rate for Harris. Has been in a bit of a slump. Yes, the roster gets a little more crowded there, but I don't expect his minutes to take a hit. He can still put up a really productive game against the Clippers. So I'm looking for my favorite plays from here: Tobias and Montrezl Harrell.
All right, I'm doing a quick little data pull here to see how many games that we have seen Kawhi and Paul George play together.
I'll set the over under at 6.5.
Oh, it's way more than that.
Is it? I don't know if it is.
Yeah, it's approaching 20, 22, I think. I'll have the answer here shortly. I've copied in 2 sets of game logs, and now I'm trying to merge them together quickly. So this is not the most scientific, but as best I can tell, it looks like 22 games. Now,
22. Where did those go? I don't remember those.
Yeah, I'm running this one pretty. So basically, what I did is I just filtered on. Let me talk through it and see if it makes sense. Filter on Kawhi actually playing, and then that's how it worked. And then I filter games that George also played. So that'll work. Yeah, so 22 games they have played together. Yikes, that is not very many when you consider how many games have they played. Because the other thing I wanted to bring up, I like the prices there. I agree with you on Harrell. He does take a hit on the usage, but with the price well below 6K on the sites, I think it's perfectly fine to consider him, especially in the context of there only being 10 teams in our player pool, so that one is good. We're not paying something in like we were before in the upper sixes, low sevens, that we would get to. Let's see, 53 games. So they haven't even played together in half the games. They've played together in 40% of the Clippers games this year. Yikes! I don't know if that's what they were wondering. Now, what counts? Well, the second season. So that's the important part. What happens in the playoffs? But yeah, that is a pretty thin look there. One guy I think is okay as well. Just kind of rounding this out is Ivica Zubac, who has been getting more minutes at center, having to go against Joel Embiid. Kind of a tough ask there for Montreal Harrell. So Zubac should continue to see around 20 minutes. Harrell will most likely be the guy closing, and he'll be on the better end, probably seeing 26 to 28 minutes. But just keep that one in mind. If we look over here on the Philadelphia side here, we have the usual guys at the top with Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris. I draw the line there. I'm not really interested in Al Horford. We are seeing record low prices with Horford. 52 on DK, 55 on FanDuel, and 20 on Yahoo. I'd still rather go with Harrell in this one, even though Harrell may play a couple minutes less, just because this is not a good fantasy situation for Horford. Again, playoffs is what they need him for. They need him for defense, etc. But from a fantasy perspective, I really would only consider the top three guys. Oh, yeah, Tobias Harris revenge. Got to throw that out there.
There you go.
Laundry Shamet revenge.
Laundry Shamet revenge.
But that's it. So I don't really want anybody from the bench. Is somebody going to do well? Probably. But is it Josh Richardson coming back from injury? Is it Furkan Korkmaz, who's, as you mentioned, has just been in fuego? Is it Alec Burks, who's making his debut? Is it Glenn Robinson? Don't forget Matisse Thybulle is lurking in there. And, oh, gosh, I guess Shake Milton gets left out in the cold at some point. So there's a lot of moving parts there down the back half. So I just feel there's really three guys I want in my player pool from this side. If we move on to our next game here, Joey, we've got Chicago at Washington. Oh, your team versus my team. This will be fun.
Wow. We are supportive of such quality basketball teams.
Well, go Supersonics, no more.
Yeah.
But we've got 230 over-under. That is the second highest total of the games posted. Again, so for perspective, there are 225 for the Philly Clippers games, 230 for Chicago, Washington, 231 for Boston, Houston. No line yet on Portland, New Orleans, but it's going to be in the 230s. And then 220 there for San Antonio and OKC. So they're all within 7 to 10 points of each other. So nothing crazy there. But we've got up at the top here with Washington, you have Bradley Beal. Beal been a little bit disappointing for his price tag, for everybody else kind of returning, etc. But he is of course the one guy we're going to look at. He has not been hurting for minutes. If we start off with the Washington side here, what are you seeing from Washington? Because I now have my angry fan hat on here, and it's Beal. It's like, okay, he's going to be one of the top raw point projected guys on the slate. Davis Bertans is fine on DK at 54. A little spendy there on FanDuel at 58. 20 on Yahoo is even. And then I don't care about anybody else. Troy Brown Jr., Rui Hachimura, Shabazz Napier, Moritz Wagner, Ish Smith, Jan Mahimny. They're all going to get around 24 to 27 minutes. But who knows? And that's not going to break anything out for me, in my opinion. So here we are, 3 teams in, and I've already crossed off a ton of people in my player pool. You want to set me straight here? What do you like from Washington?
Yeah, there's not a ton to like on Washington. I mean, you've got Hachimura on DraftKings is decent at 4,800. Troy Brown Jr. 4,300 on DraftKings is decent. But I know the Bulls have some impressive streak of not allowing 100 points through 3 quarters this season. So they play at one of the slower paces. I don't expect, now that Washington's all these healthy bodies, I'm not loving taking a Washington player here. Beal's pricey, 9,500 on DraftKings. He's real pricey. I mean, I'd be looking more towards the Chicago side, obviously against that Wizards defense. So I agree with you. There's not a lot that I can recommend for Washington here. I'll probably be avoiding this one.
All right. Now, how about your Bulls? There are a lot of guys who are dinged up.
Hmm.
Obviously, Lauri Markkanen, Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter Jr., et cetera, et cetera. It's sort of this is like the mirror image of the Wizards. You've got shooting guard up at the top in Zach, and then you've got a bunch of guys that are kind of sharing minutes, and it's all just they're not great players. Tomas Satoransky, Chandler Hutchison, Kobe. I don't like Kobe White nearly as much because all he really does is score. Is well, he doesn't score a lot, but that's the only fantasy source of his points
Hmm.
is scoring. So I'd rather go with Hutchison, can at least get rebounds. Thaddeus Young can kind of do a little bit of everything, and then Satoransky, obviously no stranger to the Wizards here. Do you like anything on your Bulls when you realize, of course, that the Wizards have one of the bottom 5 defenses all season, or playing at one of the top 5 paces, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, there's a couple guys. So Satoransky's probably revenge game. Maybe a revenge game for Satoransky. Ooh, no, he's my favorite. He's my favorite target there. I don't like to play him when he's over 5K on DraftKings, but when he's under 5K, that's kind of his sweet spot. I think he could be a really good play. He's got a 33% 6 times rate at this value right here, and he doesn't get a huge boost without Marketing or some of the other guys who are out on the floor. He's going to get the minutes though without Chris Dunn. So the minutes are stable. And anytime guys get in heavy minutes against the Wizards, it's never a bad thing.
All
So
right.
he's
So
my favorite target there. Levine's coming off the huge game against Philly. I don't love him. He's a little pricey on DraftKings. So Satoransky's been my favorite play on the Bulls side.
yeah, now I will say there is something to say about Satoransky here. Now, one, his style of play fits well in this game because he's not
Mhm.
going to take. The infuriating thing with him is he doesn't take bad shots. Why is that not a good thing? Well, he doesn't take bad shots and he's willing to pass. Problem is he doesn't have a lot of shot volume. Well, the Wizards are going to give him a lot of open looks. This will be the third time these teams have played. In the first game back in December, he played 34 minutes, had 36 fantasy points. They played about a month ago. January 15th, he played 28 minutes, had 31 fantasy points, and he's only topped 30 fantasy points twice since that one. The matchup suits him well. The price has come down. I'm good with this one, regardless of the fact that he used to play for the Wizards. So I really think this is a good spot for him. I wouldn't hate a dart throw at Luke Cornett, but now we're just getting into the Landry Shamet could outscore him. Ivica Zubac could outscore him.
Yeah.
It gets a little messy at this point. Anything else you like from this
Are
battle?
we, are we thinking? Are we thinking 2 straight big games from Luke Cornett? I don't know how. No, I don't know how.
Well, when I think Luke Cornett, I think 20 to 25 points would be. I would be thrilled with that.
Right.
So
His price is only 4,100, so it's not as high as I would have thought. He's coming off a career high in points, 25 points.
yeah, well,
But
I hadn't looked at his game. I didn't play him in the last. I don't think I
yeah,
played him on the last slate, but now that we're down to the 10 teams here, of course it's always a little bit different, but yeah, no, you're right. So that would be an apex game. So I like to think that his 80th percentile outcome, so his best 20 percentile outcome or top 20% outcome would be about 24 fantasy points. So he got that last time. I would say he had a 95th percentile outcome with his 31 fantasy points. Because if we look prior to that, 7 fantasy points in 17 minutes, 17 fantasy points in 23 minutes, 32 and 28, 12 and 20, 32 and 30, 10 and 25, 7 and 17. So he's kind of all over the board. But looking for a little salary relief placeholder value, I have zero issue with that just because we know it's in his wheelhouse, that volatility. Could we end up smiling? Yes. Could we end up with our egg on our face? Absolutely. So that you've got to be willing to assume a little bit of risk on that one. Next game here, San Antonio at the Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC favored by 7. We have a 220, so lowest on the night, 220 over under here. What do you like here from the Spurs, who are on
back to back.
a back to back? Yes, I don't think their game is tipped off where it's about to. Their game tips off right now. So as we record this Monday night at 9 o'clock, they have not yet tipped off. So assuming nobody gets hurt, but acknowledging it's a back-to-back here. What do you got from the Spurs?
Yeah, don't hate. Immediately, the guy who stands out actually is Patty Mills. So he's been in a little bit of a slump and some blowouts lately, but he's usually pretty good for 20 to 24 minutes. And at that $3,100 price, I think his price sunk. I really like Patty Mills there as someone who could, especially on a back-to-back. We'll see how many minutes he gets tonight, but they usually don't like to push DeJounte Murray too much. I mean, Patty Mills is always good for he seems like he goes off at random times. I don't hate. I like Patty Mills actually in this spot. On the other side of the ball, OKC, they've got obviously CP3, Gallinari. They're fully healthy, so it's kind of hard to like a whole bunch of guys from this side. But Gallinari does stand out at 5,800 on DraftKings, and so does Steven Adams at 5,500. So Steven Adams has been getting those minutes back up, and he has a 55% 6 times value rate or 5 times value rate at 5,500. So I really like him there as a GPP play.
All right, so DeJounte Murray, let's look here. So he has played 3 back-to-backs this season. He's averaging 23.8 minutes on those back-to-backs. That is only 1 minute less than when he in his regular games. So that's not really a bad thing. And you want to keep in mind that they had held him out of back-to-backs early in the year, and he was on the minutes limit, etc. And I just called this out because he was coming back from injury. So I think it's one that we definitely want to think about. So where I'm going with this is Adam and I talked about this for a long time on the Saturday show, and I have set up permanent groups because at first I had said I don't want to play more than 2 of the guards, not counting DeMar DeRozan, but Bellinelli, Lonnie Walker, Brent Forbes, Derek White, etc. I don't want to play more than 2 of them. Adam talked to me and said, hey, you know what? It's really Forbes and Mills that directly back each other up, and it's White and it's Murray that directly back each other up. So he said you should take that one step further, put them in as each pair, and say don't play more than one of them. I am still, because it's the San Antonio Spurs, I am going to keep that rule on this. I kept it on the short slate tonight. I'm going to keep it on this, just a 5-game slate here, because I don't want to end up, guessing wrong or having the wrong pairing if they're only going to get 48 minutes total there. So that's just a kind of we're trying to find these edges wherever they are, and that's one that could be a little bit of a leak in a game. Could they end up with more minutes? Yes, they could if the game goes small, which with the 3-guard offense on the other side, there's a chance that could happen because they could slide Aldridge down into center. If when Trey Lyles isn't on the court, etc., and Steven Adams isn't on the court, the other side, yada yada yada. So there are ways this can happen, but more often than not, if you go back and look at the game logs, they just generally replace each other in the lineups. So that's for the audience that may not have realized that. Any other highlights from this game? You're right, with everybody fully staffed, it's kind of hard to be excited.
They really sunk some of especially on DraftKings, they sunk some of the prices for the Spurs. I mean, you got Rudy Gay's 3,000. He's been barely playing.
Yeah, I was going to say, have you looked at his game? I had him on a season-long team, and I just kept starting him. And finally, I looked at his game, and I'm like, how many games has he been without getting double-digit points? Oh, my God. No wonder I'm losing. It's one of those set your league once a week leagues. Or set your team once a week. I was like, I got to get this guy out of here.
Should be noted, he did play 22 minutes last game. So we'll see how many minutes he plays tonight. He could, 3,000, the min price. It's hard to argue with 22 minutes. You usually expect Rudy Gay to put up 20 points if he's getting minutes in the 20s, maybe 17.
Here's his point totals for those at home: 5, 4, 3, 4, 5, 10, 9, 4, 6. I was just like, oh yeah, it's Rudy Gay. I don't need to replace him off the waiver wire. Yes, I do. I need to do it immediately.
Right. We got Jakob Poeltl also at 3K on DraftKings. So, and he can put up quality points. He can put up 22 points in 14 minutes. So he doesn't need the heavy minutes. He had a 32-point game in 18 minutes against Charlotte. He had a 20-point game in 14 minutes against the Clippers. Could be a good spot for him. Obviously, we'll see what he does tonight. And so I like a lot of these cheap guys. I don't see why Gay, Mills, and Poeltl should be. I know Brent Forbes had a big game in his last game, but I don't see why they should be lower price than Gabe Mills and Pirtle, less than Bryn Forbes. So I like a lot of these cheap. I mean, DeRozan 7,200 and Aldridge 6,700. This could be an interesting team to target. They really sunk their prices here. So and OKC is not too pricey either. Gilgeous and Chris Paul at 6,800, 6,700, and then Gallinari at 5,800. So this seems like a discount type of game, even with everyone healthy. I like this game.
All right, I'm trying to. How do I get? I'm trying to put a little sort. Oh, I wonder if that's what it is. There we go. All right, because I wanted to go. I know these teams have played each other recently, so I'm looking for the game flow box score. There we go. So this is from January 2nd. Looks to be the one. So let's look at that one. So, because I wanted to see what Pirtle's minutes were. All right. So Pirtle was the direct backup in that game for LaMarcus Aldridge. Now things have changed a little bit, and Trey Lyles only played 10 minutes in that game. And let's see, because what did Steven Adams do? So Steven Adams ended up playing 30 minutes in that one. So ultimately, it was a lot of LaMarcus Aldridge at center in that game.
Yeah. I mean, this is going to be the lowest over-under on the slate. I think, and the prices are low. I think this is a really interesting game.
Yeah.
And it should be, I mean, there's within the realm of possibility. I don't know what the spread is on this one yet. They have a spread, of course. What's the spread on this one?
It is
6.5. Not bad. Not bad. Yeah, I think this is kind of a sneaky game that not a lot of people will target just because the over-under is going to be the lowest in the slate. But I like the value here.
Yeah, and that's a good one to watch the deep dive or deeper dive and see what Adam has to say about this. Because I was looking at a game flow box score for that's a month old. It's 5 weeks old now. Things have changed. People were hurt. People weren't. I don't know what the recent tendency is for Popovich. He's been shaking things up because their defense has been getting worse. They're finally, it took them 2 decades to finally have a not great team. But here we are. So just as we're trying to find some of those 3K, 3,500 guys, this is the little exercise that you have to go through. But we'll leave that to the guys that have more information at their disposal when they're doing that search tomorrow. Moving on to the next game, we do not have an over-under for this. This is Portland at New Orleans. You've got Brandon Ingram, who is dealing with a sprained ankle. So we're not going to know more until some time after the injury reports come out on Tuesday. So hopefully we'll get something on the noon injury report. It may not be until the 5 o'clock injury report. But Zion Williamson should play. He had a sore ankle. Says ankle injury here. He also was dealing with a sprained toe, so they held him out of the last one, or held him out this weekend. But this is, I think, is an interesting spot to consider him.
Oh, yeah.
And then Anthony Simmons should be available to play. He was in the concussion protocol. So he did not play Saturday or Sunday. Portland finished up. They were the nightcap against Miami on Sunday night, so he wasn't in that game. Setting the stage there, what do you want to focus on here from the visiting Trailblazers?
Oh, for the Trailblazers, can I start with New Orleans here?
You could start with New Orleans if you like, because it is Mardi Gras season. Come on.
It's Mardi Gras. Okay. So if Ingram is out, the big usage boosts go to Drew Holiday. He goes from 25.7 to 30.1 without Ingram on the floor this season. And then Zion Williamson, only 81 minutes with, DeMar DeRozan was just scratched. That's big news. Okay, this is the current slate. Okay, anyways, Zion Williamson, 35.9 usage rate without Brandon Ingram on the floor. That's only in 81 minutes, so not a big sample size. But wow, DeMar DeRozan just scratched. That's not ideal. that could go into our Spurs talk, though, right?
It could. So I'm just waiting to see if it says anything for him.
Yeah.
For Brandon Ingram, he actually did not practice Monday, so there's a pretty decent chance, even though he's questionable, he's not going to play.
Okay.
Or he should. Let's rephrase that. There's less than a 50-50 chance he's going to play.
Okay. Well, yeah. So Lonzo gets a little boost. Redick gets a little boost without Ingram. each one more if he gets the minutes, gets a boost. I mean, everyone's going to get a boost without Ingram in there. Reddick went off last game, but I wouldn't expect that again. I mean, Holiday's the target here, so is Zion. I agree with you. I think Zion's really interested. I think this could be finally the game we see him go bonkers against Portland.
Back spasms for DeRozan.
Could keep him out tomorrow.
We shall see.
I got him in one lineup, so that's you think about it. That one.
All right.
Portland side.
Yeah. What do you got on the Portland side here?
Lillard for under 10,000 on DraftKings against New Orleans. Pretty hard to pass up.
That sounds like a reasonable way to go. He is, yeah. So on FanDuel he's 98, 52 on Yahoo, 10-3 on DK.
Sorry, FanDuel is under 10,000. So hard to pass up on FanDuel. DraftKings still pretty hard to pass up with the way his usage has been trending towards. So, I mean, I don't see how. I mean, he's a 55 plus point machine. I mean, in games that stay close, the only time he's in the past month he's been under, 50 points is when he played Denver and they got blown out, and then he had another game where he was a little off. So yeah, it's hard. He's gonna be a popular play tomorrow, and I would be a little afraid to not ride that against New Orleans.
All right, I wanted to look here and see how much DeMar DeRozan. Oh, only at 5%. All right, well,
and I had him in one lineup, so we can put that one to bed.
We will see. Sometimes it happens after lock. That's just the way it goes. I think that's just the third time now. Now, all three of them have happened in the last 3 weeks that we've lost somebody, because Kawhi was 2 weeks ago, where they basically came out after lock. And that is something that used to happen a lot more than it does now. That was like a once or twice a week occurrence.
Yeah, it was. I remember those days. Yeah, it doesn't seem to happen at all. Maybe just because of more access to information. So
well, and they also mandated that you're supposed to announce your lineup 30 minutes before. Now, of course, someone can always get hurt, and 30 minutes before the alleged tip-off versus tip-off are two different things, because television start time, unlike with baseball, where they'll say we're going to start at 7:07, and they start at 7:07 or 7:08. Here we're going to start at 7, and depending on what's going on, it's usually 7:12 to 7:15. So it's a little frustrating when they do that, but it is what it is. But at least it's been better thus far this year. So Anthony Simon's coming back. Kind of will eat in a little bit there to Gary Trent. Trevor Ariza had some nice minutes. Good reminder that he is still a capable player. They're fighting for a playoff spot, so they're going to somewhat tighten their rotation here. So that means Caleb Swanigan, Wenyen Gabriel, guys like that are going to be no-goes, but they're still going to run. And it's funny because I would say they go 7 deep of players I would look at, with Ariza, Gary Trent Jr., Anthony Simons, Carmelo, CJ McCollum, Whiteside, and Lillard. And they're all on DK reasonably priced enough that you can start doing a little mixing and matching. Not the best of matchups or situations, but should be a little quicker. They're going against New Orleans.
Yeah, so. Shout out to Osimo for Trevor Ariza last night. That was his thin crust on National Pizza Day. Was his thin crust play of the day?
Oh, I was not aware of that.
But he put a video out there, Trevor Ariza, and I thankfully had him in a lot of lineups, and he had 6 points at halftime. Finished with only 42, but it's pretty good for 3,600.
That is solid. Very, very solid.
But it also shows you the flukiness of Trevor Ariza, so proceed with caution, especially at 4,300.
All right. Final game of the night here. Boston at Houston. Houston favored by 2.5, 231 projected point total here. I think everybody from Houston. So Westbrook was sitting on back-to-backs, but he is good to go. Looks like everybody else is Kemba in, Jaylen Brown in, Marcus Smart in, Tatum, Hayward. Yeah, so it looks like literally everybody is looking good here from the main guy perspective. That throws a little bit of a curveball to us here, because when we're looking at Boston, they have been playing with 1 or 2 guys out. Oh, Daniel Tice. Nope, he actually looks like he's going to play as well.
Everybody's in. Yeah, tough.
So yeah, when was the last time they had a full roster here? What's
Thank
going to happen to minutes? I think we can say Ennis Cantor, not great. Daniel Tice, maybe, but we'll have to see because it's not like there's a big center they're going to be playing there in Houston. Gordon Hayward. So basically, you're looking at your five of Tatum, Walker, Brown, Hayward, and Smart, and it feels a little scary. Anything after that, you would think that the minutes lean towards Tice, but we don't know that for sure because it's been a while since they've all been healthy. Plus the wild card of going against Houston, that's going to have PJ Tucker out there at the nominal five
Ooh,
for a while.
yeah. And they could go in. Celtics could match them by going small too, so could be aware of that. They could play. He could even play. I guess they could play Tatum at center, right?
That
So
was, yeah. I don't think that would be. I mean, it's like it's not even center. It's like, okay, our five guys and your five guys, and we don't
yeah,
have a
I
center.
mean,
Either team doesn't have a center.
I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lineup out there with Tatum, Walker, Brown, Hayward, and Smart,
Yeah.
and Tatum playing the five. So the only guy I really like from this game would be Jaylen Brown. I mean, that price on DraftKings is decent, 6,600. Other than that, yeah, I mean, it's the first time they've been playing together, it seems like, since Thanksgiving. So it's been a while. I can't. Thanksgiving is an exaggeration, but could be. I don't know.
All right.
So
Then the Houston side, Harden and Westbrook, because they're Harden and Westbrook. Covington, been getting some heavy minutes here. He's slotting in for about 34, 36 per game. You've got Daniel House, who's been kind of in a similar spot. PJ Tucker, again, getting banged around a lot, but he still gets the occasional corner three. He is not exciting to me, but
no.
Boston is equipped to go small if they wanted to here, and that actually helps PJ Tucker. But for me, it's Harden, Westbrook, and Covington would be my main three. On FanDuel, I would probably take Daniel House. He is a small forward, though, over Covington for the $900 savings. Covington's a power forward there, so we're cross-position comparisons there. But I think that's where you're getting to a break point where you want to look at it. I prefer Covington at 52 on DK to House, who is 48, and they both are eligible for both forward spots. Anything jumping out here? I'm going to look up some of our fantasy or super draft information.
Standing out to me for Houston would be, I mean, Westbrook. He's been over the last 30 days. He's got a 6 times value rate of 54% at this price on DraftKings. So, and I mean, it's hard to justify having Harden priced so much higher than he is, but with the way Westbrook's been trending. So I think I would expect Westbrook to be the way more popular play, which is rare to say with Harden also on the court. But it's hard to argue that Westbrook isn't the preferred player.
Yeah, he is getting a 15 or so % discount across the board. So definitely something to think about. If we look over here on SuperDraft, we do not have to worry about salaries. All we got to worry about is playing 3 guards, 3 forwards, and a center. Why don't we have to worry about salaries? Well, they have multipliers. So how it works is if you're a better, more talented player, you tend to have a multiplier of, say, 1. So on Thursday night, it looks like nobody really has a 1 multiplier except for James Harden. His teammate Russell Westbrook has a 1.1 multiplier. So what that means is whatever, say Harden scores 60, but Westbrook scores 55, Westbrook would actually beat him because you would get a 1.1 multiplier on that, and he would get, doing some quick math in my head, 61.5 points. So, no, I did that wrong, 60.5 points. So that is how the multiplier works. So you want somebody with a larger multiplier that still should get base points. What are the base points? Well, they're what we're used to seeing on all the sites combined. We have double-double and triple-double bonuses, just like on DraftKings. Half point for 3-pointers, just like on DraftKings. You get 3 points for blocks and steals, just like over there on FanDuel. And then the rest of the scoring is what you are used to, and then a -1 for turnovers. So Zion Williamson at a 1.6 multiplier, pretty solid. A lot of projection systems are going to come in, and they're going to put him at around 1 point or about 38 to 40 fantasy points. Now, he is not yet top 40 fantasy points, but he could at any moment in time. All of a sudden, 40 fantasy points times 1.6, we're looking at a big number. We're looking at like a 65 or so. Russell Westbrook, he'll come in with about a 55 to 60 point projection. So all of a sudden, he's looking at 66 with his modifier. So now that you guys kind of understand that, let's talk about some of the modifiers that might pop. Robert Covington, 1.6. That's very nice because we know he gets blocks. We know he gets steals, or deflections at least, but some of those turn into steals, and he can hit three-pointers. So those all get special bonuses or higher scoring than what we're used to seeing on DraftKings over there. You get someone like Drew Holiday that would be without Brandon Ingram, and he's at a 1.4 multiplier. All of a sudden, you take his likely 40 base fantasy points, and that you're looking at a 56. That would put him in the top 7 right now of most projection systems. So that's kind of how it works. A couple other guys to call out. Davis Bertans, 1.6. Bertans at least has the ability to get the occasional block and steal, but he rains down three-pointers. He takes about 10 to 12 a game when he's healthy. That is worth a bonus to you as well. So that's kind of how it works out. Last guy I'll mention, Tomas Satoransky, 1.7. We know he's going to get minutes. Never really exciting, but if he could get us to 30 fantasy points, all of a sudden we're at 51 with the multiplier. That puts him in the top 10. So food for thought, things to consider. But you have not yet, if you have not yet signed up there for SuperDraft, or if you have and you haven't made a deposit, when you make your first deposit, you put in the promo code OSMO. If it's $100, they'll give you $20 immediately in SuperDraft cash that you can use for any contest. All right. Any final thoughts before we get on out of here?
Good luck tomorrow. I mean, we'll see some stuff open up, I think, as injuries come about, but it's kind of hard to make any determinations except for that Ingram injury. They had a really pretty clean slate compared to tonight, where there seemed like the whole everybody's roster was hurt.
Well, I don't think we have Jimmy Butler news as we sign off here.
So Aiden's out tonight, so check Diallo. Fire him up, right?
Good
Checkmate.
times.
Checkmate.
Yeah, good times ahead. All right, gamers. With that, good luck.
All right.